I'm going to use this flimsy American-made steel to try to. So again, I not only am I not deeply opinioned about this, I also this gets into deep economics that I am just not as familiar with as you. But I'm going to voice the thinking from Howard Lutnick. Lutnick. So he's the Secretary of Commerce. Listen to an interview that he did on All In. And so here's the argument for tariffs. Before World War I, America had tariffs on most countries around the world. We tariffed most goods. And that was also before World War I, when America was an absolutely unbelievably powerful industrial creator, right? We had massive, massive output and production as a company. That's what we were known as. That's what America was. And that's what basically powered and won world. I mean, simplifying dramatically, obviously, but World War I and especially World War II, right? Just this massive production engine of the United States. After World War I, in response to basically trying to help support countries rebuild, America stopped tariffing and said, we are going to temporarily ease tariffs on these countries that are trying to rebuild because you can't afford them. We're trying to help you out. Then comes the Great Depression. They're like, okay, we can't put tariffs back now. I mean, historically, our country has always had tariffs. We can't put it back now, but we'll wait. Then World War II happens. Okay, that's bad. And then the Korea War happens in the 50s. And then the Vietnam War happens in the 70s. And it's on and on and on. And all these issues where we are basically, the idea is that normally you would have tariffs, as most countries do. To be clear, we do have less tariffs in the US than most countries, right? Like, particularly like a lot of specialized goods and stuff are tariffed by a lot of countries. And then like when they're trying to buy from the US, and in return, we, the United States, have extremely low tariffs on all the rest of the, like what some of the numbers on like an American-made car gets massively tariffed in Europe. And then, so it's like they are less incentivized to buy an American-made car in Europe, and we don't do the same to them. It's like a 2 or a 4% tariff, I think. So there is, in many areas around the world, this sort of like disjointed system where other countries have these tariffs in place to protect their industries, and we don't. And the thinking by Howard Lutnick and Trump is that by the time we got through the Vietnam War, we're in the 80s, and now we've had 4 decades of not having destruction around the world, not having countries that are ravaged by war, at least to the same extent, that we as America need to go back to what we used to do, which is to say, hey, we're going to protect our industries. And over the last 4 decades, we've seen that basically all manufacturing in the US has been offshored, that these manufacturing jobs are gone, that exactly like you said, all like you and me, I'm a mug salesman technically. And
yes, sir.
Right. We make our mugs in China because there's barely the option to do that in the US. And if it is, I think that's the thing is expensive.
Even if you want to, the options to choose from are very limited in terms of what you can actually make.
Yes. Yeah. And so the idea is basically this is how you protect your own industries. On top of that, it incentivizes companies to come build. So right now, if you have a company, if you are building a new factory, you are incentivized for merch, let's say. You are incentivized to go build that in Mexico or China because the costs are going to be so much lower and margins are going to be higher. But if across many different industries, all these different companies say, not necessarily you, Aiden, but the person who is deciding to build the next factory goes, you know what? It's going to cost about the same. Let's do this in America. It brings jobs back here that are high quality and high paying. Like you said, costs will go up. But the idea is that those costs are going up to fund Americans getting jobs in America. And that over time, then as even though costs are higher, wages also rise at a higher level, right? Because the quality of our incomes is going up rather than everything being offshored to the cheapest possible bidder. This is the argument. Also, there would be potentially a large amount of income generated from tariffs, even though it's mostly paid by the consumer. That is Howard Lutnick's argument. That is Trump's thought. We used to have this system for the first half of American history. The second half, we do not have tariffs. And that has basically caused all of our manufacturing to dissipate. And other countries are taking advantage of us by tariffing our stuff and making it even harder for people to build in the United States, because if they then can't sell to other countries because they're being tariffed, they may as well go build in other countries.